Have you ever watched something knowing it was going to hurt and kept watching anyway? Because that's exactly what Invincible Season 4 is about to do to us. And look, I'm talking about a battle the entire series was built to deliver. Every season, every flashback, every scar on Nolan Grayson's face, every time Mark nearly died and survived by the skin of his teeth, all of it, brick by brick, built a structure that's about to collapse right on top of us in the finale. Mark Grayson versus Thragg, Sun versus King, humanity versus viltrumite domination. And the question that won't leave anyone's head, whether you've read the comics or just followed the show, is simple and terrifying. Does Mark actually stand the chance? Before anything else, let me give you some context that a lot of people forget when they talk about this fight. Thragg isn't just the strongest villain in the series. He's a philosophy walking in the shape of a man. He represents the purest, coldest, most brutal version of what it means to be a viltrumite. No mercy, no doubt, no affection to cloud his judgment. He saw Nolan, Mark's father, as walking weakness. He saw Mark himself as a genetic mistake that should have been discarded in childhood. And throughout the entire series, he wasn't just a physical enemy, he was an ideological shadow trying to swallow everything Mark stands for. And what does Mark stand for? Everything Thragg despises. Love for Earth, loyalty to humanity, the refusal to accept that power justifies domination. Mark is literally proof that a viltrumite can choose to be different. And to Thragg, that's a heresy that needs to be erased. Now, think about it. A battle between these two isn't just a superhero fight. It's a clash of worlds, of choices, of legacies. And the Season 4 finale is the moment all that built-up tension finally explodes. But let's talk about raw power, because that matters too, a lot. Thragg is considered the most powerful viltrumite ever born. That's not a title earned by seniority, it's biology. He was genetically optimized by the very laws of the viltrumite empire to be the perfect warrior. In the comics, he dismantled Mark's father at a level that left readers speechless. Nolan Grayson, Omni-Man, the guy who spent decades as a hero on Earth and survived things that would kill any human being several times over, was massacred by Thragg in a way that felt almost humiliating. And it wasn't quick, it was slow, it was deliberate. Thragg doesn't kill in a rush, he destroys with intention. Mark has faced Thragg before, and the result was catastrophic. He nearly died. His body was broken in ways that would have been fatal to any other living being. The only reason he survived was a combination of viltrumite genetics, which regenerate the body at an insane rate, and the people around him who refused to give up. But here's the point the series builds with such skill. Mark doesn't just grow physically between one confrontation and the next. He grows emotionally, strategically, and in terms of the weight of experience. Every time he nearly dies, he comes back different, more aware, more determined, more willing to accept that some battles demand you leave parts of yourself behind. And Season 4 has been building that in a way that's almost cruel in its precision. We see Mark dealing with the consequences of old decisions, with the weight of being a father, with the pressure of being the symbol that Earth and maybe the entire universe needs him to be. Every episode has been adding layers that make the final confrontation not just physical, but loaded with emotional meaning. Now, close your eyes for a second. Picture Mark arriving at this battle carrying all of that on his back, the memory of his father, the fear of becoming what he swore to fight against, the love for a family he can't bear to lose, and standing in front of him, Thragg, who carries none of that because he discarded everything human in himself a long time ago. That emotional asymmetry is the heart of the battle, and it's why this fight is going to be brutal in a way that goes beyond broken bones and blood floating in space. Now, let's talk about what the Amazon Prime adaptation is doing differently and why that matters. Robert Kirkman's comics are the foundation, but the animated series has been expanding and adjusting nuances in a way that keeps the essence while creating surprises even for people who already know the story. The creative team understands that adapting isn't copying. It's translating into a new language without losing the soul of the original. The Season 4 finale has the potential to be the most ambitious episode of the series so far. And when I say ambitious, I'm not just talking about animation. Even though Invincible's visual quality has already proven they're not afraid to show violence with real consequences, without softening it, without cutting away at just the right moment to protect the audience. I'm talking about narrative ambition, about putting Mark in a place where he has to make decisions that define not just who he is, but what the world becomes after the confrontation ends. Because one thing Invincible has always been honest about is that victories have a cost. There's no battle where the hero walks away untouched. There's no choice where every side comes out without loss. That's part of the show's DNA, and it's what separates it from so many other superhero stories that promise weight but deliver convenient lightness at the end. The finale is going to put that principle to the ultimate test. And there's another element I need you to consider. Thragg, throughout Season 4, didn't just sit around waiting for the confrontation. He built something. A legacy. A new generation. He operated with a long-term vision that is honestly terrifying. Because you look at him and understand he was never just about immediate power. He thinks in centuries, in dominion that doesn't end with one generation. So when Mark arrives at this battle, he's not just facing the strongest man who ever lived, he's trying to cut the root of a project that has already advanced further than he can fully see. Feel that weight? Because that's exactly the weight the finale carries. And here's where we get to the point that's going to divide opinions after the episode drops. How do you want this to end? I'm not asking what you think is going to happen based on the comics. I'm asking what you, as a viewer who has invested time, emotion, and expectation into the story, want to feel when the episode is over. Because there are finales that give you immediate satisfaction. The hero wins, the villain falls, the music swells, the credits roll, and you feel that cathartic relief that lasts until the next morning. Those finales have value. They exist for a reason. And there are finales that stay with you for years, that don't resolve everything perfectly, that leave the hero standing, but changed, carrying something they'll never get back, with a victory that tastes as bitter as it is sweet, that make you stare at the ceiling at 2 a.m. thinking about what that story said about choice, about sacrifice, about what it really means to win. Invincible has always pointed toward the second kind, and the Season 4 finale, if the series stays true to everything it's built, won't be any different. Mark will arrive at Thragg carrying every version of himself that ever existed. The boy who discovered his father was a monster. The teenager who tried to be a hero without knowing the cost. The young man who almost gave up more than once and didn't. The man who chose to love, even knowing that love makes you vulnerable. And Thragg will be there with none of that. Empty of everything that is human weakness. Full of everything that is viltrumian strength. Bones will break. Blood will drift through the vacuum of space. The animation will do what it does best. Show consequences without mercy. Impact without filter. Violence that carries weight because the characters have soul. But the real outcome of the battle won't be decided by brute force. It never was. It'll be decided by the question Invincible has been asking since the very first episode. What defines you? What you inherited or what you chose? And when that answer comes, in the most brutal, most painful, most defining moment the series has ever delivered, will you be able to say you were ready to hear it?